society is how it treats its women and girls. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
We create
the smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
We can fight.
I'm here because of you. I'm here because girls like you inspire me. Many of these girls have faced unthinkable obstacles just to attend school. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
One stand still.
Your story is my story. Your story is my story.
Won't be shamed.
Your story is my story. Your story is my story. Story.
No man is big enough for us.
And I told them that they should disregard anyone who demeans or devalues them, and that they should make their voices heard in the world. I told them that they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And I told them that they should disregard anyone who demeans or devalues them. They should make their voices heard in the world.
Good morning. This is Surly Voices, and we have a special treat for you this morning, but we have a special treat for you every week. I am joined by Dr. Cole via Zoom this morning, and I'm going to have Liz, who is managing life as it comes to us. How are you doing this morning, Maria?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
You know, I mean, considering the fact that, we're in the apocalypse and the revolution, as well as I can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Remember that ride at Universal Studios? I don't know if it's still there because it's been a minute since I've been to Orlando. It was called the Tower of Terror.
Yes, the one that, the Tower of Terror, yeah.
I feel like that is where we are right now, the Tower of Terror.
A little bit, right? A little bit. And I feel like everything is jumbled on top of each other. So when you think about life in an impossible economy, and I feel like last year we looked at this, we thought, this thing is going to roll over. But I remember you telling me, just hold on for a little bit. It'll be buying time soon, as a signal what the economy would be like this year. And man, were you ever right. But I'm going to go ahead and do our open this morning. We're going to be talking about, of course, Minneapolis ICE and the price tag of order, the birthright citizenship. They are coming for the clause. And number 3, nationalize elections and law enforcement at the polls. They want to militarize our elections. So this is Surly Voices, of course, on WMNF. Overnight, Washington quietly admitted what communities have been screaming for weeks. The crackdown went too far, and the blowback is political. The White House border czar says 700 federal immigration agents are being pulled out of Minnesota. Small win, considering everything, after a surge that ended with 2 civilians dead and protests boiling over. Now, Congress is dangling the one thing it always dangles when it wants obedience. It's dangling the dollar. Democrats are threatening to block DHS funding, hopefully, unless there are dramatic changes to ICE, the masks, the cameras, the warrants, the accountability, because the Constitution is back in style when the headlines get ugly, right? We always run for that scroll. So here's the question we're starting with today. Is this reform or just a tactical retreat until the next camera turns away? I mean, I want to know, are they going away? Are they standing down for now, only to come back in rarer form closer to the election? Okay. So if you've been wondering about now yesterday there was a thing in D.C. with this. Congressman Dan Goldman taking a stand on them coming for the 14th Amendment. I was checking this out last night online, and we jump in here whenever you're ready. Checking this out online last night. And so the conversation is right now that the 14th Amendment was designed for the descendants of slaves to guarantee that they would not be treated as second-class citizens. Look how that turned out. Well. And now we get to it. And so all of the racists who voted for Trump are now screaming, that's only for the descendants of slaves. Well, looky here. The same people who voted for Trump are now using enslaved Africans and the promise that we made to them as the defense of an attack on the 14th Amendment. What say you?
I mean, we knew this, right? Like, this is not a mystery to any of us. I don't even know how to, none of this is a surprise. But the thing about it is, think about the people that it impacts in his own family, like himself.
But it won't impact him.
Well, his wife.
No, it's not going to impact them. None of this stuff impacts them. Remember, we're going after pedophiles in Minnesota. The alleged pedophiles are going after pedophiles.
The convicted assaulters are going after alleged people.
Yes. Yeah.
Let that sink in.
No, it's not only is it sinking in, it is attacking me. It attacks me, and every time, and I'm sure
the hypocrisy and the contradictions make my head hurt. Like, I cannot, like.
I'm sure that our listeners are equally flummoxed by the goings on. I mean, do we have to talk about it? I mean, you guys, I think as part of what we do, right? We talk about the flummoxing of America and how none of this makes sense. But when fascism and authoritarianism, and those are two different things, which we'll have a lesson on when I am not headed out of town and managing multiple roles outside the radio, I will come back and we will have a discussion, which Dr. Cole will graciously lead, on being the professor in the room, authoritarianism versus fascism, because we're throwing a lot of words around. It's like liberal, neoliberal. We throw these words around. It's like defund the police. No one really knows what it means, but it's charged. So we're going to come back and talk about that. But when it comes to your town, it doesn't come in an orderly fashion with salient arguments that are easy for the educated and those who are not formally learned to understand. It comes just like it is right now. There's a lot of confusing rhetoric, most of it rooted in nothing but vibes and feelings. And the part of it that's real are the people who are dying in the streets and losing their lives as they've known them, while they continue to assault our civil liberties from above. So what do we do? Do we go to a No Kings protest?
I don't. We knit red hats.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, all of it is performative. And I need people to be serious. I read I haven't seen a Charlie Pierce article in a while, but Charlie Pierce has been writing some really good stuff for Esquire magazine lately. And this article he read earlier this morning was the next Democrat to be president must be ruthless. And when he means ruthless, he means prosecutorial with all deliberate speed, right? No more Merrick Garland, eminent on, and stuff like that. But convictions are the only language these people understand, and they have to be fast and furious. That's the only way if we have a chance of getting out of this, that's the only way we can. And honestly, that's where I am right now. I really feel like the current state of the opposition party and the milk toast that we are presented is not meeting the moment. And it's not going to be a King's protest. It's going to be rigorous resistance with respect to advocating, fighting for the right candidates to hold elected office. I mean, we're going to have to fight, literally fight.
Oh my goodness.
For our democracy. We're going to have to fight for representation. Come November, there are going to be people who are going to try to intimidate voters. There are going to be people who try to stop people from voting. It's not going to stop at Georgia. And we have to be angry enough to demand that that we kill this thing once and for all. You know, the idea, the notion that that you can just move through politics without repercussion or without consequence needs to be, these things need to be met with consequences so people understand that you cannot do this to us, And I think it requires our full engagement at this point.
I agree. I agree with that. And I also think that it is not without import that the case that's teeing up for the SCOTUS Supreme Court is due to be heard. This Trump versus Barbara is due to be heard on the 1st of April. You cannot make this stuff up.
I know.
Yeah, you can't make it up. So Liz is with us. And if you're able to pop in here, Liz, and give us some Surly Voices branded commentary.
Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm listening to Maria, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with everything Maria says. I mean, with this latest document dump from the Epstein files, if it wasn't clear before what kind of debauchery and just depravity is going on that Donald Trump is involved in.
All the manner.
Allegedly.
One moment the neoliberals are marginalizing progressive candidates. And the next moment, the president is trying to redefine birthright citizenship by executive order.
Right.
Yeah, FOFA, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, here we are. Like, one moment you're just trying to be the boss of everyone, and the next moment you're literally watching your cousins being carted away.
Right. I mean, it's, for example, the Cubans down in Miami were really strong for Trump. And now he's deporting Cubans out of Miami. And they're like, what? Wait, no.
Because they've always been a sacred cow.
Yes.
Right.
And so people are finding out there are no more sacred cows. Unless you're a white male billionaire, you're going to get away with pretty much anything you want to.
Well, speaking of white men getting away with anything they want, what about Nike? We kicked off Black History Month with Nike being sued for discrimination against white males.
Oh, for God's sake. You know what? I saw an ad, or a commercial rather, from the Department of Labor about, if you're a white man and you think and I'm like, what, is Saturday Night Live on early this week? I mean, it was just ridiculous. I mean, and this is the official government body who oversees labor law.
It would be better if they just fought like they do in the Korean parliament.
Mhm.
And if they would
Oh,
just like take off
yeah,
their jackets
throw-
and throw
throw
the blows.
down.
Yeah.
Right, they
Throw
do that in England.
chairs.
If you ever watch Parliament, they do it all the time. They're hollering and screaming at each other. Yeah, I
we
would
have a history of doing
love
it
to
here.
see Yeah, because I remember learning in school, in high school, about some guy that beat another guy with his cane, and the name escapes me. I'm sure one of our listeners will know it.
It's
but
the most famous case of that. Yeah, the one you're talking about.
yes,
Yes. And people were.
we need to get back to that. Yeah, make America great.
But isn't that how Aaron Burr ended up killing Alexander Hamilton, right? That we learned. But some of you learned this a few years ago when you actually saw the play, right? Or the Disney recreation. That one guy was talking trash. So he challenged him to a duel, you know?
talking trash? Yeah. We need to bring back duels, I think. Yeah.
You know what? That would have a dual purpose. No pun intended. Right? You could get rid of the people who just won't stop. You know, and we have a way to sort this out without dragging the American people through pure HE double hockey sticks. And
Right.
Steve Bannon is saying that you're not supposed to saying stuff he's saying the part that you never hear out loud. He's calling for immigration agents at polling sites during the midterms. Now, you guys, let me just say this, and let me just have a clarifying moment here. The purpose of militarizing ICE is the test run for having jackbooted thugs in our streets.
Right.
So it'll start with ICE because we've got to get these vicious criminals off the street, right?
Right.
And why don't we start with letting people out of jail who are not violent criminals? Like, we could have done that 20 years ago. Obama did some, and then Biden let some people out that got these crazy sentences under the laws that the way we were putting people away for an ounce of cocaine if you had a crack rock in the 80s, right? And then Trump came back and, diluted the waters again by letting all the criminals back out into the water source. So I feel like this is a sample. We'll start with ICE, and then we'll go to the National Guard, and then finally the U.S. Armed Forces.
Yep. That's exactly what's going on.
Right. So,
and people are just like, oh, they're just cleaning up the streets. No, they're not. Plus, there's no governance. There's no oversight for these jackbooted thugs who are already in the streets killing people. And it's not just Minneapolis. It's happening all over. And so, where's the end? I mean, what has to happen before the average person wakes up and says, this is not, no, I can't take this anymore.
I think that's already
just
happening.
Not right.
But let's dig into how this started.
Everybody's just going about, business as usual, pretty much, you know?
Let's talk about how it started. I think history, y'all are going to laugh at me for saying this, and callers are going to call in and snatch me right up. But I'm going to say it anyway. I think the start of this is if this stacked court, right? History is gonna note that the beginning of World War III was literally RBG not giving up that seat and Mitch McConnell blocking Obama from seating his justices. Like, that's where this thing turned the corner, right? This is where the donut rolled off the driveway. Because without that Supreme Court, none of this could be happening. You cannot unconstitutionalize birthright citizenship and the clause that's attached to it, right? Like, all citizens can benefit from this, not just the descendants of slaves. And that's how our immigration system was able to happen. Now, some of you, and I want to hear from you. Some of you are going to have alternate points of view. You're going to say, well, we can't support the world's entire population. We do need to bring some structure to our immigration system. What do you guys want? How would you do it, was the caller that asked last week. How would you do it if you were doing it?
A couple of them did.
Yes. Well, we wouldn't be shooting people in the back in the street, ICU nurses. right? There's already
Right.
a shortage. Like, we're just killing people. So
Right.
as if that's the way to go about immigration. And then we started having a conversation about Obama. And I wanted to tell you this. People say Obama deported 3.1 million. And it's just like the internetization of facts, right? Yes, Obama was known as the deporter in chief. But again, I must say, it had to do with people who were being turned away at the border being counted in that number. And so it's like when we said Black Lives Matter, and by extension, all lives. But there was nothing after the semicolon that people could see. And without, figurative intelligence, you can't sort that out. When we raised the least of us, we've raised all of us. So people thought it was just about Black people only, and why should you be special? Why are you special? What about all of the other people? So what I'm saying here is exactly the thing that you can't hear. You understand? If we're talking about people being turned away at the border, and we're not talking about people who came here and then get snatched out of their lives. And then we have to have another conversation about the global economy and our empire building and how it creates this desire that you have to leave your homeland and travel across a couple oceans in order to be able to realize your dreams for your life, because the empires have all the resources. That's another question. That's another conversation that's waiting to be had, but we can't have it while we're fighting for our lives in the streets.
Right.
But empire is plundering those resources. It's not like it's with sufficient consideration. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Paying for it.
That's what creates
It's-
the poverty.
It's they're exploiting the native land, if you will. But I also want to go back to this immigration thing for a second, because this entire false narrative of what are you supposed to do, I find it really insulting and intellectually, and there was a bill written by one of the most conservative senators in the U.S. Senate to overhaul immigration. And this person who occupies the White House told them, Republicans, to stand down, pull it back, because he wanted to inflict this kind of cruelty and this kind of pain. If there was immigration reform, which there's always belly aching about, he would have no issue to run on. This idea that we have an immigration problem is a false narrative to begin with.
Yes.
And here we are. You had it. You had everything that you could have. You had it at your fingertips. The opportunity to resolve it, to fix it. But instead, you wanted something to complain about and raise money off of, and give this maniac an opportunity to take office and inflict this kind of pain and cruelty and disruption in people's lives. And now, as a result of it, our own citizens, our own people are being killed and slaughtered in the street.
And we're not done with that, because if they were done with it after Pretty was killed, then we would have had a reckoning. So
Yes.
even though it's not the headline anymore, it's still bad out there. It's still bad.
And to the callers who called last week about, well, how would you do it? Well, I wouldn't be murdering people, number one. I wouldn't have, masked thugs in the street, number two. I mean, every president up till Trump has gotten immigration taken care of without slaughtering people.
Without murdering people in the street.
Yeah.
Without disappearing children.
Or using them as bait to get their parents.
Have you seen the pictures of the little boy, Liam, and his dad?
Yes.
Yeah, really look at those pictures, right? They're being celebritized, as we do in our culture, in the midst of their trauma. But the trauma doesn't end. Let me turn this off, you guys. The trauma doesn't end when you get back to your home base. If you go outside of your house and you're traumatized, it's not over. After a funeral, you don't come home and say, okay, well, I'll take off my black jacket now and, have a Netflix binge.
Yes.
Their eyes,
lifelong.
their eyes look like they saw some things.
Oh, yeah.
There's something essential has gone out of them. I don't have a baseline, so it's hard to say, but they look like traumatized people. But can I talk a little bit about birthright citizenship? We know that they're picking people up and they can't deport them legally, right? And so they don't have the legal wherewithal to, mount a challenge to these people's presence. So they're like, oh, we got to go back to the birthright citizenship. So my question was last night when I was looking at this stuff, where the smart money is. So I think that birthright citizenship will survive because I was reading about the U.S. versus Wong Kim. That was in 1898. Which reads the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause broadly. Basically, born here equals citizen with narrow historic exceptions, ergo diplomats, hostile occupying forces. And on top of that, multiple federal courts, including appeals courts, have already blocked the Trump executive order. Remember that? That was last year. Holding it unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment. So the government is coming to SCOTUS after a run of losses. And this is where we're going to turn the corner one way or not, right? This is where we're going to screw the pooch. If the SCOTUS is not yet exhausted with, and these are bright legal minds, even the least of them, okay? These people have, they're credentialed attorneys.
Clarence Tom.
I know, right? But still. I mean, and it's not that. And some of these people, just because they're using their powers for evil, and doesn't mean that they can't act like they're stupid,
Right.
So, and make bad decisions because emotionally they're twisted people, okay? Because I have a different regard for Amy Coney Barrett than I had in the beginning. Was she the most qualified? Absolutely not. But I feel like she's had, on a scale of 1 to 10, she's had a 20% awakening. It's not, the assimilation is not yet complete, but stand by. Loading, okay? So on top of that, multiple federal courts, including appeals courts, have already blocked the Trump executive order. So the government, I told you that. So the more bettable twist is procedural, not substantive. Even if the court keeps birthright citizenship intact, it could still limit what kind of injunction or class-wide relief is available, or decide the case on narrower grounds like statutory procedural posture, remedy scope, all of the technicalities that you can throw in to make it not worth the cost of admission, right?
Right.
While leaving the constitutional core untouched. So now comes the sleight of hand. So that's a consistent, I think, with a low stakes kind of separation of powers. And that's how cases like that often get resolved, right? The big headline stays, but the plumbing changes. And so now you're in court trying to prove that you have the right to be here, and you're coming upon obstacles that you had not come upon before because the law was clear, the precedents had been set, and there was no way that you could uncitizenship someone without exiling them.
Right.
But,
well, I would be interested to see how these quote unquote constitutional originalists interpret the birthright issue, because it's like, okay, some of y'all wouldn't be here but for. So it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. So the constitutional attorney that I talked to says 65 to 80% of SCOTUS would probably reject the order. To attempt to narrow birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. To undocumented or temporary status parents because of the Wong Kim arc. 20 to 35% of SCOTUS doesn't fully bless the EO, but produces a compromise narrow ruling, okay? Leaving the Congress administration to keep fighting around the edges. And then 10 to 15% might want a major rewrite that effectively ends birthright citizenship. So it's likely that, like we said, we'll go into the wall, reroute the plumbing.
Right.
And then it's now it's a chore, it's a task, and it's fragile. Like it's more fragile than it was before, and then less resistant to someone's infringement upon your rights.
Right. It's, yeah. I mean, another show of horrors every day.
And the thing,
And then Pam Bondi,
oh,
it's like, what in the world? How has she not lost her license to practice? I'm perplexed.
because she's in Merca.
Merca.
But worser. but now it's worser.
Now it's worse.
I'm going to use that word one time in a sentence every week until the election. Yeah.
It's worser.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has surrounded himself with the biggest sycophants and evildoers. I mean, they're like comic book villains almost,
Worse, though. Worser.
Worser.
Because they're not in the book. They're not staying on the pages. They're coming
Right.
out of the book and they're doing things. And we're not even going to talk about the Epstein files. And let me tell you, so let's just pivot here. The problem that I have with the Epstein files is this. We knew it was bad, right? There are lots of pictures, there are lots of emails. There's plenty of stuff for you to sink your teeth into if you're looking for what's real in there. But I am bothered by the fact that the most salacious of things taking place in those files are calls that were made, reports that were made by the FBI. Okay? And that all of that stuff is in there. And there are quite probably some AI photos in there. And, they've muddied the waters. And I think
Yes.
they've sat on this stuff until we are broadly infringed upon with AI images and false narratives daily, as we
Right.
consume the internet. And so that has sufficiently muddied the waters so they can say, here's a toy to go play with while we ravage your streets, gut your constitutional right, your civil liberties, and restructure your government and quite possibly curb a clear electoral setup. So now everybody, and so if you scroll through your feed right now, like if you're at home, you scroll through your feed, every fifth post is about the Epstein files. And if you've ever
Right.
inquired about them, it's even worse than that. And it's shocking stuff. But our civil liberties are scheduled to go on the auction block on the 1st of April. And our insurance dollars, tax dollars that were allocated for our insurance are being rerouted to pay for the thugs that are knocking on our doors in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, because at first all the troubles in Michigan were to take our mind off the Epstein files, and now that it's gotten too hot for them to mess with it anymore, now all of a sudden we get this new dump of Epstein's files. And so it's like what turned out to be the distraction became the main show, and now we're back to the files as a distraction. I mean, it's mind blowing how any of these people are still walking around in free society is beyond me.
Yeah. I feel like we're not saying anything. I feel like everything that is known, and everything that can be said has been said. Every single analysis, all of the analyses have been, and we're inundated with information. I mean, 3 million pages of Epstein files. Talk about giving your dog an indestructible chew toy. Right? They can chew forever until their teeth are gone, and they'll never get to the bottom of that.
But
Exactly.
some of the stuff though that I'm reading gives me some hope, not for America, but for prosecution in other countries, right? Like Europe is Spain and France are investigating Elon Musk.
Oh, good.
There are other investigations as it pertains to the Epstein files in Norway, in England, the UK, and in other parts of Europe. People are resigning and losing their jobs. It's just that this one guy who every day I wake up and he's not going anywhere just yet.
Yeah.
But I think that the rest of the world isn't having it. And the rest of the world is doing their own investigation, whereby they don't have to have anything redacted. They follow a different set of rules than we do.
Right.
And I'm going to, like, you know, I'm old enough to remember that when antitrust investigations started with Microsoft years ago, it was Europe that started the domino effect and broke them up. We are bought and paid for as a government here, and I don't expect us to do anything about these people, but I'm going to hold out some hope that justice will rain down on their heads, but it will not be because the American people have had elected officials that have the cojones to do anything about it.
Right.
Can I ask you a question, Maria?
Sure.
How do we get here? Like, how do we get, walk our listeners through your thoughts around how we got such a milquetoast, gaggle of
Honestly,
sycophants.
I think it's Citizens United is what broke us. Like, it was bad before, but all of our elected officials are bought and paid for, and corporations are not people, although the Supreme Court said they were. Samuel Alito specifically wrote that decision. And we are living in the uncovering of what has been happening for over 30 years now. And it's just become unbridled. The idea that we're spending $1 billion for elections, think about it. Who benefits? Right?
No, I work in the industry.
Right.
Yeah, I see
Your
it.
voice,
I see
your
it.
voice is, as an individual, your voice is being drowned out by the consultant class, the corporations. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about antitrust, right? And I woke up yesterday to the fact that I think it was like 30,000 journalists were laid off at the Washington Post, something like that. I might be wrong about the number, but the Washington Post is collapsing, and rather than sell it, Bezos has decided that he is just going to burn it to the ground, basically. But he shouldn't have it to begin with. Amazon, who is a bookseller and like the biggest retailer, bigger than Walmart, has that piece of it, but they also have Amazon Prime streaming services. They have AWS, and a lot of platforms are run off of AWS, right? And I mean, like, I do not understand how these are not antitrust violations, let alone what the Ellisons are doing with their conglomerate.
Well, remember,
All of these things should be broken up, all of them.
remember in Trump's first term, Trump 1.0, the prequel. The Supreme Court said, before it was, stacked to the point that it is right now, they said they weren't going to hear any more antitrust cases. And I felt then, like in my gut, that signaled something to come, right? And I was just like, man, the night is dark and full of terrors. But there were so many things happening at that time, we didn't think about what that meant. They were setting the stage for where we are now. Like, and now Trump is like, well, the mortgage companies now, the commercial buyers can't buy up all the houses. Well, who's going to make them sell them because they own a third of them?
Yeah.
So let me read this text here. AIPAC also has a big hand in our milquetoast politics. Yes, say less. Let's see. Inga says, can't see that. Let's see. When you ladies stated convicted pedophile, who exactly are you talking about? No one said convicted pedophile. Now, you're messing with somebody who has a memory of, I hope I get to keep it as I get older. It was said convicted assaulter.
Yes.
It was not said convicted pedophile. I said alleged pedophile, and then it was Dr. Cole who said convicted assaulter. There you go. Next question, please. Not today. Carl in Clearwater is calling. Let me talk to him, you guys, because we're getting down to the bottom of this thing, okay? Okay. Good morning, Carl. How are you? Carl?
You got your button up?
Carl? All right, we'll go to Joe in Venice. Hi, Joe.
Do you have your slider up on the telephone?
Yeah, we're going to figure that out here in just a second. Let's just keep going. Let's see. So we don't have any more emails, and then we'll come back to that because they are probably talking to us. But since I don't run the board that often, I don't know. But what I will do is there is a...
Support for WMNF comes from listeners like you and Indivisible Pinellas, presenting Run for Something, an event focused on civic engagement and community participation. Run for Something takes place Saturday, February 21st at 3:30 p.m. More information is available at indivisiblemidpinellas.org.
Okay, so we needed to do that before the end of our show, and we've done it. And if you ladies are or gentlemen or non-binary folk are interested in running for something, you continue to listen to Surly Voices, and you'll come across that one again. I snuck it in on you. You'll come across that one again, and you'll have the opportunity to attend a Run for Something seminar this weekend, it sounds like. And it looks like we've got... Not yet, but let's keep going, and then we'll come back to our callers once we get that sorted out. So here we are, elections. I think that's an important conversation that we need to begin to unwrap that. The way things are being set up right now, the play is to, and I saw this already. It was 2018. I was driving from West Palm Beach, and I went through some small town to get out of the way, somewhere between Tampa. It was very south. And there were people with long guns standing outside a polling location. And I took a picture of it. I thought I did. And I told Reverend Dr. Meyer, who is a not infrequent guest on this show, about it. And he was like, gosh, you send me that. And I could never find it. But talk about foreshadowing, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just dig a little bit into what a militarized election would look like. Gosh, this feels like it's happening somewhere in a developing country,
Third world countries, yeah.
Yeah, I try not to say third world.
Oh, sorry.
They're developing, and they're developing quickly. When you think about nations that were even 30 years ago considered to be, air quote, third world, these countries are developing robust economies at the speed of light. Mm-hmm. And you've seen that, was it Denmark or Switzerland, right? Sweden canceled their order of F-35s.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing that.
And then the president says, it's unfair. What? Bro, what are you talking about? Unfair? You're the king of unfairness.
Right.
Yeah, give peace a chance, my friend.
unfair. Yeah, that sounds like something he would say, though.
Somebody says, what do you think about English only? Patrick says, what do you think about English only? Another way to keep people from voting. No license, no vote.
Wait,
But
we had English only and then no license?
Why do you need a license to vote?
Because you're not going to drive the polls, you're going to vote.
But you don't need to drive.
No, I'm saying you're not driving. It has nothing to do with driving. He's saying no license, no vote. I guess the same as like ID. People say license, they use them interchangeably. But how about this? How about when I'm born?
But that's voter suppression.
Okay, so let's just say this. What he's trying to say, because I want to do this, right? Because we're getting a lot of questions that come from both sides. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Let's say we want voting to be a clean process. And we don't want people to have to be disenfranchised because of they lost their license, they left it at home, whatever the situation is, okay? So that would include populations that are transient. It would include folks that are houseless, et cetera. So I hire a lot of people. Not infrequently, especially when we're hiring canvassers, do people not have their foundation documents? So what about this? You are a citizen and you have a social security number. If you are eligible to vote, then that number, we could hide your social security number and you could have a number that would allow you to vote without having to register to vote, because that puts another layer in there. And that's how you get your voter suppression, is through the registration process. No one asks you when you're born in a hospital that your parents name you and you get a social security number and you can't go to school without, well, it used to be your vaccines and your social security card. And we're in a different world now. We've lost our measles status, where measles was considered to be eliminated. That's gone now because we're playing games and we're winning prizes, right? So if we made it a de facto registration by the fact that you're a citizen, that would make sense. I don't know how I feel about non-citizens voting, right? Like nowhere in the world does that. But I don't know how I feel about that. I'd have to think about it some more, and I haven't thought about it. And I don't want to put up an argument that could be considered xenophobic, right? But there are ways that you can allow people to vote without having to jump through 25 hoops that ensure 100 million people sit out of the process.
So the thing about this ID thing that really bothers me is that what you're doing is disenfranchising people who cannot afford the fee. If you make ID free, like I roll up to the DMV or whatever and I need an ID and it's free, a free community ID, okay, people can know who I am, right? But the idea that only people who can afford an ID are the ones that get to vote is problematic for me from jump. And when we talk about a comprehensive Voting Rights Act, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we disenfranchise entire communities through gerrymandering, through having people jump through hoops and things like that. So if we're going to have comprehensive reform and a comprehensive reimagining of the Voting Rights Act, let's do that. But this other thing that Donna, you mentioned about who gets to vote, right? Mahmoud Mamdani, Zoran Mamdani's father, wrote this book called Neither Settler Nor Native, right? And he makes this great argument, which I encourage people to either go to YouTube and listen to his lecture or get the book called Neither Settler Nor Native. And what in there, without it being intentional, it is a complete rebuke of this dissolution of the 14th Amendment. And it's not the intent of the book. The intent of the book is who am I in a land that does not see me as native? And I am not an immigrant either. But I'm here, I've been here my whole life. Now, Mahmoud Mamdani's family story is that he was born in Uganda. For generations, his family from India lived in Uganda. And so he's like a third, fourth generation person having been born in Uganda. And when Idi Amin became the leader of Uganda, all of the Indian people were exiled. They could not live in Uganda, and it causes you to think about how we look at each other and who decides who is a worthwhile contributing member of society.
Okay,
so
I
I'm
like
just
all of
offering
that.
as something to think about.
Yeah, I like all of that, but we can't have it both ways. We can't be a nation of laws and a nation of not laws, right? Like if we want to change our process, we do that through the courts. Literally, it's the only thing that's saving us right now. We would have been in the Trump kingdom a year ago if it weren't for
the
laws.
courts are not saving us from a Voting Rights Act. This court, the Roberts Court, has dismantled the Voting Rights Act.
What I'm saying is that right now, the reason why these people, when we had to bring back this guy last year, it's because of laws. And so I'm going to, and Liz is an officer of the courts, right? So I'm going to say this. Ideas, that sounds wonderful in academia, right? Academics are brilliant people.
Yes.
They sit and they think about this stuff. They could rewrite our charters and we could have a better world. However, we've got the system that we have. And if we want it to evolve, we have to do it through the process. That's why we're having all these headaches now, is because we want our system to evolve and people are not using the rules that we've set up. So we're already a country, right? I give you an example. Billie Eilish got on the Grammys the other day, and then I'm going to take a caller or two, and we're going to give you guys 30 seconds because we're in the lightning round. She said, no one is illegal on stolen land. People gave her rousing applause. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. The problem is Billie Eilish's $3 million home and its acreage,
stolen land.
right?
Oh, no.
The tribe where her land sits would like to have a word in California.
Oh, no.
And they thanked her for acknowledging them and reminded her that her sprawling estate sits on stolen land and that her brother just sold his, Phineas just sold his property for $5.66 million to be exact. I don't have it in front of me, because that wasn't something that I was going to talk about this morning, but it needs to be said in the context of what we're sharing from Mahmoud Mamdani. This blurring of lines between, making this rousing virtue signaling statement and then being torn apart by Native tribesmen, I feel like it's on the same level. But I want to go to Tommy Carl in Clearwater. And you have exactly 30 seconds. Carla, you're with me.
Round. Trump and Stephen Miller, their taxpayer-funded brown shirts, they made a huge mistake. They killed white people. They murdered white people. Huge mistake. And then the other thing is,
I think we only have time for one thing, so we're going to take that.
No, wait.
And call me back next week.
The women that were exposed, that's a threat from the Justice Department.
Got it. Thank you. All right, Carl, we got to roll. 30 seconds. Thank you. 36 is to be exact. Okay, so we're going to round this thing out, and we've got less than 1 minute left. Last words, Maria or Liz?
Go, Liz.
There's an old saying, I believe it's an old American native saying, may you live, it's like a curse, may you live in interesting times. And that's where we are right now, interesting times.
To say the least, and monsters live among us. That's my last words. Maria?
Oh, yes. Maria?
No, I'm good. I said, what's on my mind.
Okay, next week we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to use the whole show for the economy next week. So you guys do some reading and be prepared to complain loudly. Thank you for listening to Surly Voices. Homework.